I'm finally live. Well, today, what we want to do is we want to find zeros from parabolas. We're going to find zeros from parabolas. Any x squared equation is a parabola. What's a parabola? Well, it's, one of these. It's one of these shapes, right? We all know that. Hopefully we all know that. Any x squared equation is that shape, right? We know that. So the zeros are these values here and here. So we solve example 1, we're going to find zeros. In example 1, we know there has to be 2 answers. And I know there's 2 answers because of the x squared. Well, what we want to do is do it by factoring, okay? So we do by factoring. I'm going to look at these 2, and I can common factor. This particular example, I'm going to go back, and I'm going to use common factoring. So, what do they have in common? Well, they have a multiple of 3, and they both have a common x. So if I common factor out of 3 and an x, what's left over would be an x plus 2 equals 0. So what we have is our mini equations, right? And from our mini equations then, we're just going to solve, okay? So we've got a 3x equals 0 and an x plus 2 equals 0, okay? And I just need to solve. So solve and divide by 3, x equals 0, okay? Minus 2, x equals negative 2. Now we know how to do that, but the thing I want to show is that if I were to graph, and we're not graphing it yet, I would have a point here and a point here, because those are the zeros, which makes the y value equal to 0. And if I were to graph this parabola, it would look something like this. We don't have to do that yet. That's on the back side, okay? Thumbs up. So the zeros are the x-intercepts. Okay, the zeros are the x-intercepts. Okay, let's look at number 2. So number 2, there's an invisible 1. Agree with that? And if I want to factor this, well, this is just, we can do this. We know how to factor this. I'm going to go x times x to make the x squared. And I'll use a negative 4 and a positive 3, right? Well, those are my mini equations. X minus 4 equals 0 and x plus 3 equals 0, right? How am I doing? Okay? Does this make sense? Good. And we've been doing this particular stuff for about a month, right? You guys paying attention? I know you are, TJ. I know you're paying attention. Plus 4, x equals 4, minus 3, x equals negative 3, okay? So then, what are these? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. They are these values, right? And the parabola might look something like this. We don't really need to graph it yet, but it looks something like that, okay? So we know that our zeros are the x-axis, x-intercepts. Okay, is this easy? Hopefully. We've been doing this for like a month. Okay, number 3. All right, I'm going to factor. I'm going to go 2x and x, right? I'm going to go 5 and 1 multiples of 2xx, and 5 and 1, but I got to be careful where I put it, so I'm going to put 5 here, 1 here. Remember the double smiley? I'm going to check my double smiley. So my double smiley, let's see, I've got a 10x and a 1x. 10x, 1x does make the 11x. All right. And then we have our mini equations and our other mini equations. We're going to solve. Okay. Minus 1, 2x equals negative 1. Divide by 2, x equals negative 1/2. There's one answer. Minus 5, x equals negative 5. Again, these are points on a graph. We'd have a point at negative 5 and at negative 1/2, and the graph would probably look something like that. Okay? We don't have to do that yet, but when we turn the page, we're going to see that application. Okay? Ready to turn the page? I'll wait for you. Okay, turn the page. Okay, now let's do example 5 before we do example 4, okay? So example 5. Well, you can just get it from the graph, can't you? What's the answers? It's this easy. Check it out. That and that are my answers. Now I could factor. I know my answers are, the answer is x equals 1, 2, 3, negative 3, and x equals positive 4. You guys agree with that? Those are the answers. We just get it from the graph. But it also, we can get it by factoring. So you set it equal to 0. Okay? So the connection today is that we know that the zeros are the x-intercepts. Okay? And then we're going to factor x and x minus 4 positive 3, right? It will be. You're totally right. Because after I do my mini equations, guess what I get is exactly what you said, Grace, isn't it? Yep, totally right, Grace. So I get x equals 4 because I go plus 4, x equals negative 3. And there it is, right? So this was easy because we had the answer from the graph. Does that make sense? So the zeros are the x-intercepts. So now let's do the number 4. Okay? So, can you find the zeros? Sure. We can find the zeros. In fact, let's graph the whole thing. Let's do the whole thing. I'm going to go ahead and put my xy axis down. Okay, I want to graph this. Okay. Okay, there we go. There we go. All right. And I think this is almost when we did it on our warm-up, right? So, can you find the zeros? Sure. Set it equal to 0. And let's factor. All right, well, you know, x times x, positive 4, negative 2, right? I've got my mini equations, my other mini equations, and of course, one answer is x equals negative 4 and x equals positive 2, right? Those are my zeros. Well, I can graph those. Okay, so I'm going to have 2 and 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now if I wanted the vertex, okay, let's get smart about this. If I wanted the vertex, there's two ways. Okay, two ways. Okay, there's two ways, right? One is to use your negative b over 2a, but what's an easy way to get this to get the vertex? That's it, just right in the middle. Hear what you said? Thanks, Gretchen. I know it's got to be right there. Now I could use my negative b over 2a, that'd work. Or just right in the middle. Nice job, Gretchen. Hi, honey. So I agree with Gretchen that the vertex has got to be right smack dab in the middle of these two, which is right there. I've got x equals negative 1 as my line of symmetry. And so then, to get the corresponding y value, plug it in, I'd have y equals a negative 1 squared plus 2 times negative 1 minus 8, which I think is negative 9. Alright, so I'd have a point at negative 1, negative 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I have one more point. Anybody know I've got one more point to graph? What's my one more point I could graph? Go ahead, Grace. Yeah, the y-intercept. I know the y-intercept is right there. That's my y-intercept. So I can put that at -8. And of course I can reflect that over and get another point right there. So there is my graph. How's that? What do you think? The idea is to put it all together. So zeros are x-intercepts. Zeros are x-intercepts. Zeros are x-intercepts. You got it? Thumbs up. Zeros are x-intercepts. That's all we got to know today. Zeros are x-intercepts.